evening, Entropians. Julian McBain here, and tonight we are on Arcadia. We're going to be doing another 10 pet hunt, but this time we're going after something a little bit more burly than the new Silpunies. There are some level 7 and 8 Oros back here, and I just wanted to kind of take the TT rifle and see how that went. And of course I forgot to... I know I put it into the description of my previous video, but I forgot to actually record what skills I got because I got that unexpected phone call, and it was one that I couldn't not take. It was my lady. Sorry guys, she kind of takes priority over everything, as is, you know, as it should be, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to just take aim and take out some of these Oros. Let's get her started here. Oh, that's right. Let's find out, what do I have for skills to start out with? That's attributes. 42, 885. Okay, so 42, 885. Write that down. There we go. Now let's see how we do here. Oh, and we want a dog. Summon doggo. There we go. And I know it's unusual for me to really focus on the gun skills, but I really need to work on my ranged weapons a little bit for a couple of reasons. Number one, and I mean, as you all know, I am a fairly dedicated melee player, right? I like to be up close and personal, toe-to-toe with my enemy, looking them in the whites of their eyes as I take them down. It's as true in Entropia universe as it is in real life. But sometimes it's nice to have a weapon that you can pull with that's a little more powerful than a starting pistol. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I do use my Mind Force powers, and that's wonderful, and I do enjoy using Mind Force powers, but because of the slower reload time, I can't just like snap off a quick shot and quick switch to my sword before the monster's on top of me, the mob is on top of me, and that's not really how I like to do things. I like to be able to snap up, pop off 1 or 2 rounds, and switch to the sword, and there we go. And with Mind Force powers, they're more... I feel like Mind Force is just a little bit... Actually, it's probably underpowered. I hear it's less ammo efficient, although that might be a function of the way the skills in Mind Force work. And I'm willing to bet that it's probably similar to the way that skills in melee weapons work, is that they're not designed to be for the lower level end of things, they're designed for the upper level end of things, which is why you see all of those like laser swords, those lightsaber type weapons that Ubers carry around, and they deal huge amounts of damage, but they use a ridiculous amount of ammunition. Just like, what are these things? Are these like velociraptors? Oh, by the way, I am wearing my Turellian armor. I thought about doing this just on evade skills, but I don't know. If I'm not paying attention, which is frequent when you're swunting, even the Noosels can take you out. Well, of course, anything can take you out if you're not paying attention. You just stand there and wait for it to kill you. Because you're an idiot, which apparently I am, because I was killed already once today, and then I was even dumber because I was pissed, so I hit the yes to using my HDNA, of which I still have 48. I don't even use them. I mean, I buy my ammo and it gives me the HDNA, but really what I want are the skill up pills and the ammunition. I don't use HDNA unless I'm trying to track something, and that's the reason I used it. And I know it seems like it's a real waste using an HDNA when you die swunting, but my OCD requires that I sweat every mob completely dry and then kill said mob. In other words, this always has to be a round number, and since the Noosels have 20 hit points to give out 20 sweat, this always has to be a factor of 20. It has to be divisible by 20, period, dot, that's the way it works. Or else it drives me nuts. And you can make fun of me all you want. It also makes me crazy that it's like that. So, you know, judge all you want. That's the way it is. Sorry. I think it's trying to get around my dog. That's funny. Speaking of which, I still need to name that dog. It looks like a messed up raptor with, like... Actually, it kind of looks like a horror out of Warhammer 40k, to be honest with you. Let's take a look at this thing. It's got an axe blade for a head. There are the eyes. Okay, so it's not quite as horrifying as I thought it was. The fact that it's got these vestigial arms with no claws on them kind of disturbs me. Notice how I didn't get bothered by the axe blade for a head. It was the vestigial arms that kind of disturbed me, because it looked terribly uncomfortable. I feel like I should be Steve Irwining these guys. But I mean, and this is something that's always bugged me about the way EU does levels, or danger levels, or whatever they call them. They're not comparable to anything. Like, level 7 on Cyrene or Calypso is tough, and level 7 here, or at least for these Oros, is nothing at all. And I know part of it's because I've got all of the skill points I already accumulated in my evades high for these mobs, but at the same time, it's like consistency, folks. Let's make the level numbers actually mean something. And I know that the maturities have something to do with it. Like a level 3 puny and a level 6 puny, they don't do the same damage because they're different danger levels and they're different species. Like these are youngs, they're level 7. It makes a certain amount of sense that the young, right, would be this level, and then maybe a juvenile would be level 5, and then a puny would be level 4, and that would be fine. But, you know, if I can take on a level 8 Oro with this level of gear, then I should be able to take on a level 8 Daikaba on Calypso and have it be the same gear. Does that make sense to everyone? I hope it makes sense to everyone. Which I know. Entropia Universe is a very unique set of complexities. And that's part of the reason we all love it, right? I mean, you've got to figure out the market, you've got to figure out the mobs, you got to decide where to mine. And Mindark sure as hell doesn't tell you where to do that, which is cool. You know, I'm down for that, because a lot of MMOs these days, they kind of hold your hand through the whole fucking thing. Not my shtick. Well, it depends. But generally speaking, I like to try to figure things out on my own. In fact, I even posted something about that on Facebook the other night about how that's my toxic trait. I don't ask for help. So it's cool to me that you have to figure this stuff out. But if you're going to put a number on it, have it mean something. Don't make it arbitrary. If you're going to put a number on it, if something's going to be level 7, have all the level 7s represent the same danger level. And yes, it's going to be a little bit different because, you know, maybe these guys do a lot of cut damage, whereas a Daikaba does a lot of impact damage, whereas a Ripper Snapper does a lot of piercing damage. Penetration. Piercing damage. Penetration. And that's cool. That means that if you have the right armor on, you're going to mitigate Mob A, but not necessarily Mob B. But if you run up to said mob in... Why did I do that? I didn't need to do that. That was just a waste of ammo. Good going, Julian. If you walk up to Mob A in your jumpsuit, and it's level 7, and it does... You know, with allowing for RNG, right? Allowing for RNG. Let's say it does between 10 and 12 damage consistently. Then if you walk up to Mob B and it's level 7, it should also do between 10 and 12 damage consistently. And yes, there's going to be the random mob that has a wider gap. Or more... That was interesting. more randomness, where maybe it can do a minimum of 2 damage, but its maximum is 20 damage, as opposed to being between 10 and 12. But you get the picture, right? The idea is that you can make certain logical predictions based upon the level number. And I find in a lot of places in Entropia Universe that's not the case. Now, I do like how they have the maturities, because the maturities do provide a certain amount of consistency across species, and it's kind of ironic that they do, because every maturity is a different level between species, but you know that, for instance, a young is going to be less powerful than an old, is going to be less powerful than a provider. And if you can kind of base get your baseline off the young, like we fought a lot of young, they don't do a huge amount of damage, you can evade them a lot. And then the olds are okay, they do a little more damage, you evade a little bit less, and now we've got this provider, and he's done a decent amount of damage to me in the last couple of minutes. It's strange to say, and maybe it's because I prefer things to be quantifiable. But I find that interestingly enough, the maturity level tells me so much more about a mob that I'm fighting. Listen, doggo, you're in my way. Than the level does. And that's completely backward. And maybe that's intentional. Maybe that's utterly intentional. But it's so counterintuitive that it has a tendency to be a bit frustrating. Here's another one. Olds and matures. Olds and matures, from what I have seen in my time playing EU, almost always have the same level, right? But matures are more dangerous than olds. And it stands to reason, because you go from young, you get into mature. Oh, he aggroed from a greater distance than I expected him to. And then, that's the prime of your life, and, maybe you become that provider, that alpha, right? And then as you age, you become weaker, and you go down, and, you lose some of that strength, and you become the quote-unquote old. And that all makes sense to me. But if the mature is more dangerous than the old, and there isn't a quantifiable reason to have them the same level, like, what dictates that level? You know what I mean? There should be a quantifiable set of parameters for every level, and it should be consistent across species. Have the maturities represent comparison within the species, like, the young will always be less powerful than the old, will always be less powerful than the mature, will always be less powerful than the provider, will always be less powerful than the alpha, and that Mind Arc has done very, very well. I know for a fact if I can take a provider, I will definitely be able to take an old under the same conditions. But the levels are completely arbitrary. Within a species, they're fairly consistent. But compared to between species, which is what's really important about the way levels are supposed to work in most MMOs, they're utterly and completely arbitrary. And if you can't tell, that bugs the hell out of me. So Mind Arc, if you're listening, stack rank all your mobs, put them together, quantify what makes a level. Is it a certain number of skill points that said mob carries? You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's the number of hit points they have. But if that's the case, I should not be able to kill this level 9 with this laser rifle. Oh, I'm under attack. Just come up with a criteria that that players can rely upon, so that those of us who are over analytical, or maybe we try to use math, which is how most MMOs are handled, use math in order to figure out whether or not we can take something. And I'm not talking about, you know, making the loot tables so that we can figure them out. I mean, there isn't a game on the planet where we can actually figure out the loot table down to a T unless the company that makes the developer releases the loot table, right? I mean, I know that Entropia Wiki had it pretty good right up until Loot 2.0. And now it's completely fucked. But just give us some sort of a pattern so we can make a judgment call on things. I don't think that's too much to ask for. Oh, come on. Really? Thank you. Oh, paint. Yay. Yeah. Actually, I shouldn't bitch. Paint generally has a pretty good markup. In fact... Yeah, see, 111. My only big complaint is the one place where, ooh, an Oro Skull. Not there? Is it lootable? Oh. See, this is the sort of thing I'd want to put in an apartment as a trophy. Daikaba skills aren't lootable. No, here, have an Oro Skull. Are they, like, expensive or something? Well, they're 3 pek a piece. Oh, no shit, they go for like 200% too, so... They must be a crafting item. Sports a large cranial blade, thick skull. I wonder if it's a crafting item, because that would be the most logical explanation for why it would be in the, you know, the materials where you can loot things. But yeah, so that's my rant on maturity levels and it doesn't make sense, and that's really frustrating to me. And you know, I'm the kind of person that if I had the money, and I don't, I really don't, I wish I did, I would want to become a planet partner, because I've got a couple of ideas for yet another planet in Entropia universe, and you know, there's all of these rules that Mindark has come up with to become a planet partner, and I'm pretty sure that with the money I have the resources, or at least the network, to be able to come up with it. Which is ironic, because I'm probably the most introverted person you'd ever meet. But I don't know, you know, maybe the arbitrary leveling system is mandatory, and that wouldn't sit well with me. I'm the kind of you know, I would have all of my mobs, if it's a level 8 in section zone A, a level 8 in zone B, you'll still, if you're able to face a level 8 in zone A, you'll be able to face a level 8 in zone B with equivalent equipment for its damage types. If you go in wearing a jumpsuit and mob in zone A does 17 damage to you consistently, then in zone B it will still do 17 damage to you consistently. You know what I'm saying? I know. Beating a dead horse. Yay, I tiered up my limited weapon, hurrah. I'm pretty sure that my Waconian sword's still at 0.9. Just ridiculous. Whoops. You know, I gotta admit, I was tempted to spend a little bit of cash on getting one of the starter kits, not for the armor, God, not for the armor, but for the Barbarella. And it does just a little more damage than the TT rifle. I mean, it doesn't do a huge amount. It does like 3.5 to 9 as opposed to 3.5 to 7. And it takes, I think, 200-ish ammo as opposed to 160. So it uses a little more ammo. But then you get the scope as well. So if I'm trying to figure out where a mob is, or if I'm trying to pull something, I could zoom in on it. And I know you can't see this because I don't use a webcam, but there was some knife-handing action going there. And really kind of key in on the mob that you're looking for and pull it that way. But since I'm already technically over level for it, the only thing I'd be buying it for is the scope. And if I'm going to buy a scope, I can just go on the auction house. You know, it's... I don't know, I just... I know that my rifle skills are too dismal to be using like an LR10, which is the lowest level R matrix rifle, which is really when you really start getting into the serious hunter zone, which for laser weapons I am not, but it's too high for me. So I know a lot of rifle users tend to kind of like jump back and forth between laser weapons and BLP weapons while they grind out the skills. And I know that they've put out the light laser carbines, which appear to fill the gap if you can get your hands on them, which, you know, I'm looking at it, I've looked, and they're not terribly priced. For whatever reason, they do tend to wane more expensive than the regular laser rifles for equivalent damage value, and I don't know why. Maybe it's rarity, and let's face it, you know, if you're providing something that not a lot of people provide, you're going to get better markets. That's just the way it works. That's the way it works in real life, that's the way it works in EU, and that's the way it should be. That's how the market works. That's capitalism. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's how we keep the system running. But at the same time, is it cost efficient for me, a melee player, to purchase these more expensive laser carbines for what is essentially going to be occasionally grinding mobs and more likely just using to pull mobs? And I haven't decided yet whether it's worth that. We're actually coming down to, I think we're on the last ped's worth of ammo here. And we are... So I think after this mob, assuming it doesn't kill us, we'll call it a day. There we go. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a fairly short video. What's the time clock on today's video? 23 minutes? Yeah, I guess that's okay. By the time we count out. Okay, let's jump in our ship. Head back to that's the hangar. We want to go back to Resolute Firebase. Yeah, we're not ready for Hangar 1 yet. We're getting there. Let's see, we have 7,100 bottles of sweat out of 10,000. So we're getting closer. We are definitely getting closer. It's just not quite there yet. And as we all know, my obsessive compulsive tracking of my Entropia money, I'm currently setting up the spreadsheet so I can record it. Oh, that's a cool bridge. Definitely one of those bridges where if you don't fall off, you're not gonna make it. Shit. Okay. And the funny thing is they give you landing pads, and I never use the damn things. I always land in the yard, which I'm sure if this was real life, like, I'd have the IFN on my ass. Oh, that was a hard landing. For landing my sleep near where I do, as opposed to on the approved landing pads. It's like, tower, can I land? Yes, land on landing pad 2. Nah, I'm just gonna land in the courtyard. No, wait, you idiot! Okay, so let's see how we did. So we started with 10 ped worth of ammo. Okay, so we ended up with 860 in loot. Clear that out. We have 0.75 in ammo, so that turns into 9.35 in revenue. Best Buy Days coming back to me, calling it rev. How much damage did our armor take? 32 peck. Whoops! Not 32 ped. So now we're down to 903. So we took a 97 peck loss, which is actually not bad. You know, especially since we got to check out what skills we got. So before I do that, let's put the 0.32 into here. Just repair that so I don't forget. So now let's check out what skills we got. So we started with 42,885 and we ended up with 42,928. Which, you know what, for less than a half hour worth of hunting is nothing to bitch about. So 928 minus 885. We got 40 skill points. I would say that's not bad for half an hour. It wasn't even a half an hour, it was a short half hour. It was closer to 20 minutes. So I'd call that a win, you know? Spend less than a ped, get 40 skill points, and it's largely... Let's see, we gained 25 in laser weaponry technology. Our rifle skill went up. Oh, geez, it's almost 30 points there. It was more than 30 points in rifle. So, you know, I'm not seeing the downside to this. So, okay, everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. Drop a comment. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. In the near future, I'll probably do a bigger hunt. I know I've been kind of sticking to these smaller hunts, kind of seeing where the skills go, skilling up some stuff that I've really been neglecting, but I do want to get back to the, you know, like the 50 ped hunts here and there. I'm really looking forward to being able to do my series on the Arcadia newbie missions, of which what I'll probably do there is I don't know, I haven't decided yet. I might put them all out in series right in a row, or I might switch off where it's one of the newbie quests in a hunt, and then one of the newbie quests in a hunt. Because I know for the newbie quests are really good. For you more experienced players who don't give a crap about the quests that you've already been through, you don't want to see that shit. So, I know, I said give a crap and see that shit. Don't judge me, okay? It's been a long weekend. So, I'll figure out how I'm going to make that work. But, I'm really looking forward to going through with it. So, again, please like, share, and subscribe down below. You all have a wonderful evening.